In this video, we will change the shape of the control bones by adding in custom objects as the source of their visual displays. This will make them easier to both see and select in the viewport. So now let's make things a little bit more easy to visualize and select. Let's go back into our resting pose. And we can actually choose what the bones look like. We can actually change the shape of them to make them any shape of any object in our scene. So if I select my bone and come to my bone properties, if I scroll down to viewport display, and then we have this custom shape here. So I can add a custom object. I can click in here and add anything from our scene. So if I just choose base, then you can see it's using this base down here as its visual representation. Now it's functionally no different. I can click and drag and move it, but it just looks different. Of course, we don't want this to look like the base, so I'm going to get rid of that. What we want to do is add some empties like we did with our monkey to use as visualizations for our controls. So let's go into object mode, Control Tab, and then let's add in those empties. So down here, empty and sphere. I'm also going to add in an empty cube, and we'll use that for later. But for both of these here, let's rename them in our outliner. Underscore, this one is cube, and then you can just double click in here and click underscore sphere to rename those. And then we're just going to disable these and hide them in the outliner because we're just using these as a reference. So if we select our armature again, go back into pose mode, with this bone selected, I want this bone to use our sphere. So let's go back to our bone properties and down to custom object. I'm going to scroll down and use empty sphere. There we go. Now that's a little too big, so we can take down the scale of our custom object. If I click and drag in here, you can see these are affected. If I click and drag and hold my mouse button down on the top one, and then I drag my mouse down, I can drag it over all three of them, and still keeping the mouse button down, I can drag to the left or to the right to scale all of those at the same time. I can also press and hold Shift to go into precision mode so that we can be a little bit more accurate. So that looks like it's going to be about 0.6. I can also do the same thing just typing. So if I click and drag down and then release my mouse button, I can type in a number here. So 0.7, enter, and it will do that. But I want this to be at 0.6, enter. And now this is a lot easier to see all around and a lot easier to just click and drag for our motion. So we don't have to click a little tiny bone here. We can just click anywhere around here and select that bone. Okay, let's reset this and let's change this one to the empty cube. So let's just select our empty cube and then we can also scale this here. Let's see, I kind of like, we'll do 0.7 for this one, or 0.75, I think that's good. All right, good, this is getting better. To make this even easier to see, we don't actually need to see these two bones, so I'm going to select both of those and press H to hide them. Now we only have these two controls, one controlling the movement or the location of the robot arm, and then one controlling the rotation of the wrist. So this just gets rid of a lot of clutter. So let's press A, Q, All to go back into our resting pose. And you might be able to see that the wrist bone is rotated at an awkward angle. What we need to do next is straighten the wrist bone to match better with the arm without breaking the geometry or the armature rig so that it rotates as we would expect it to rotate. So when you're ready, head on over to the next video.